Hey readers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire Books, and today I'm going to be reviewing Real Life by Brandon Taylor. I chose to read this book because it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, and even though it didn't win, we know that at the time that I'm reading this book, I thought it'd be really interesting to look at the shortlist, see which book I would have chosen myself, and, just take some recommendations of what must be some really great books, because making a prize shortlist is a big deal. So, was Real Life real good? Well, let's find out. So Real Life is basically a campus novel. It is about a gay black man who is completing a PhD program in the sciences at a Midwestern university. And the book covers a single weekend in his life where he kind of has a lot of revelations about whether the friends that he's made at university are really his friends. He has thoughts about whether he wants to really stay in this graduate program. And his relationship with one member of his cohort takes some surprising and sometimes upsetting directions. So I'll just say up front, this is one of those books where a lot happens, but it's not exactly a dramatic plot line. It's very much a character study where characters interact with each other. You learn a lot about their history, about how they treat each other. And the novel is really centered in the interactions between the humans in the book. And looking at things from Wallace's perspective is both fascinating and painful because basically there are microaggressions galore in this book. The way that Wallace's white colleagues treat him is frankly unacceptable, but the people who are around him pretend not to know that. They want to let a lot of things drop. When someone says something overtly racist to Wallace at a dinner, they all want to kind of pretend that it didn't happen and just awkward silence it out of existence. And at the same time, if anything goes bad between them and Wallace that they want to talk to him about, they try to get him in private and have these awkward conversations where they want absolution from him, when for him there's really not a lot to talk about. And even though there's a lot more dramatic stuff happening in the novel, I felt like for me, that was the real part of it that was just so frustrating, and the backdrop that I think made Wallace's existence in his program so painful. And therefore, I think it's really worth thinking about and discussing once you've read the book. It's really clear that Wallace came to this university with the hope that his life was going to be different. He has a super difficult childhood that we find out about as we read. He's from the South, and his parents are super messed up. We find out early in the book that his father has died and that he didn't go to the funeral. And while everyone around is like, oh no, that's your dad, there are real reasons why Wallace doesn't want to go back. And I think that watching him deal with his own relationship with his family in a world where people are telling him how he should handle his relationship with his family is really tough and interesting. Meanwhile, Wallace makes a connection with Miller, who's another student in his program, who they originally got off to a bad start. And now, even though Miller does not identify as gay, they start having this sort of relationship that it's not totally clear what it is or what it will become. But it is still, because it's an interracial relationship, tinged with the same issues and the same unwillingness to acknowledge what Wallace is going through that all of his other relationships in the book have. But I think the part of this book that really got me the most was it gave me so much grad school PTSD. So you can tell that Brandon Taylor, the author, has absolutely been in a PhD program and that at least some elements of it were dysfunctional. I don't know how autobiographical this book is, but it is very clear that this dude has been in a PhD program and that it hurt. And I know because I've done one too, and it felt so familiar. Everything from kind of feeling forced into relationships with people in your cohort and then just making the best of that, to being within walking distance of everything. So even if you're not hanging out, you're also close, but can be far apart at the same time. Competitiveness over work, desperation to finish, advisors who kind of ignore real problems with you because they just don't want you to be their problem. It was just so raw because it really hurt me where I'm still kind of raw even after 10 years of being out of school. And watching Wallace deal with that, but with the added component of having to navigate a white space as a black person, was upsetting and moving and just really thought-provoking for me because it brought me back to my own life experiences and then also gave me someone else's perspective to use. And so if you want to know what it's like to be a grad student at its worst, you should definitely read Real Life because, oh man. I mean, even Wallace, like, saying he wants to leave his grad program and everybody acting scandalized just really hit close to my lived experience as well. Grad programs, because the academic market is so hard and because the work is so brutalizing, it gets a little bit cultish because everybody needs that validation that what we're doing is worth it, right? This is all going to be worth it. This work is important. It's going to pay off. We all want to be here. It's important to be here. And watching Wallace question that and be unsure about what he wants to do with his own life really hit home, especially as he also had to navigate other people's feelings about his feelings. This book is also just really beautifully written. The prose is gorgeous. I found myself completely sucked in. There's so many just really good quotable lines from this that are lovely. It is very obvious that Taylor is not only very emotionally sensitive and good at characterizing people, but he's also a very thoughtful writer, and he knows how to put together really, really beautiful descriptions of places, people, things that take it to that next level. So I know a lot of people talk about Real Life being a debut novel, but if that's his debut, holy crap, what's his second book gonna look like? So this leads us to the question of, should you read Real Life? Yes, you should. Everyone should read this book because Brendan Taylor's attention to characterization, to how environments and how people treat each other can impact somebody's internal state so much, even if they don't say anything. His ability to tap into that kind of stress that comes with being in school and wondering what's going to come next in your life and wondering if you're making the right steps toward a good future. Everything is in there, and there's really something for everyone in this book. In interviews, Brandon Taylor has said that this book is not for the white gaze, and it is absolutely true. If you're a white person reading this book, do not expect him to pull punches or try to make you feel better about social mistakes that you may have made in terms of your treatment of people of color. But if anything, that makes this book more important to read, because so many books are written by and for white people, that this book has value not only in itself as a book, which is where, in my opinion, it really, really succeeds, but it's also an important viewpoint to be expressed in a book that hopefully, because it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, a lot of different people are going to read. Real Life has given me a pretty serious book hangover. Like, I'm not sure what I want to read next because just the emotions of my own past combined with my concern for Wallace have all just mixed up, and I'm just going to need to cool down for another day or two now that I've read it. But in my opinion, that is what all the very best books do. So if you want to read something that is emotionally challenging but beautifully done and just a fantastic novel, absolutely pick up Real Life by Brandon Taylor. Happy reading.